Hi everyone, welcome to the 7th and final round from the E234 at Coventry. Another fact about Coventry is that the football team Coventry City have to play their home games at Northampton Town, which is quite far away because they got kicked out of the Re2. But anyway, and they lost the first club to have electronic season tickets in the UK. But onto the chess now. This is John Mckeon versus Drip Drop. Drip Drop has the dreaded double black, and you could do a win in this game. If you think if he wins this game, he'd get quite a big chess check potentially. So let's get on cracking with it. 1d4 was played against him. Knight f6, Bf4, e6, e3, c5, c3. So we've got the London system. So you're playing the London system against the London. That's probably not the best idea. But I think Drip Drop's second move, although a good line, is slightly inaccurate. Because one of Black's, I think White's only real plan in the London system is to get a knight on the e5 square. So I don't like actually playing d5 against it. I'd rather just play b6 and then just play d6 as well as think out this bishop, taking d4 to unbalance the pawns. Bishop b7, castles, then you got his later plan of putting the bishop back on f8, g7 and putting the rook to e8, and queen c7, a6, rook c8. Just play ridiculously solid and then try and break with e5 and overwhelm white eventually. d5, knight f3, so he's thinking gives white simple plans of putting knight in e5 and then queen f3, queen h3 and trying to get an attack going. Knight bd7, bishop e2, that's the chicken variation. The not as bad variation, but still dull, as bishop d3. Bishop e2 is just very dull and solid. Bishop e7, knight bd2. And now maybe Black can take advantage of the fact that White hasn't played h3 and get rid of this bishop, but it's a bad bishop anyway, so I won't be too bothered about winning it. In fact, White can just castle, and if knight takes f4, e takes f4, then actually these double pawns are good because White's got a massive grip on the e5 square with a stone wall, but you can use the other f pawn with f3 to stop Black ever making use of the e4 square, so these are good double pawns. b6, so Drip Drop's got the right idea, but I'd rather have the pawn on d6 in this position, definitely. Knight e5, bishop e5, a6, castles, bishop d3, so White's wasted the tempo basically. And in this position I do not recommend playing c4. I made this cardinal sin once when I was a patzer, well a bigger patzer than I am already, and now it just gives White a free rein to attack you. Bishop back to c2, so you go b5, simple continuation, b5, and then you just play the queen out to f3 something, then put the queen on h3 and you're already threatening bishop takes f6, it gets quite nasty. Bishop b7 was played, so the bishop's, again if the pawn was on d6, the bishop will still be on a wall of pawns. Queen b1 was played, an interesting move, which is somewhat like what Sentinel Be2 played against me. h6, Qe1, rook c8, queen d1, so White's just wasted another tempo, but luckily this rather dull position doesn't make it matter as much. Knight e4, which is not a very good move, or actually no, it's not bad actually. But I think White could have played queen g4 in this position. Friendly mate and the knight. So the knight has to actually go back, and then White can take advantage of the queen g3. White's not got his queen to a good square with tempo. Queen e2 was played instead. Knight to Bd3, knight takes d2, queen takes d2. Now Drip Drop should play bishop d6 for equality. The swap of White's very active bishop instead he took. And now this move is very tempting because it's the bishop on the best square. And Drip Drop, despite because both here the Drip Drop gang winner plays Bg5, and now f4 could have been considered, but I think the bishop just retreats, and now White's bishop is looking a bit trapped. And in fact, there's a threat of White has to follow up with something like f5, with maybe an attack actually. If there's a line where White just sacks the exchange, plays f takes c6, bishop takes e1, ef7, rook f7, rook e1, and White has a lot of compensation for the exchange with the opening of Black's king, and White's bishop pair is very dominating and Black's bishop's completely dead. Queen e2 is played, b5, and now a4 should have been played, just hitting it back to queenside, and if something like this is played, then I was going to win a pawn. And if bc6 is played, then actually the pawn attack more times it's defended. So white missed a very good move that practically wins a pawn. Then h3, b4 to get out of that, cb4, and now f6 is played for some reason. Instead, something like, well, Dripdrop's lost the pawn, but he needs to protect his b pawn, so maybe this which attacks whites, and if a3, then just pawn. I'm not actually entirely sure Dripdrop got in such a bad position. It must be that Bg5. f6 was played, and after Bg3 e5, so Dripdrop was trying to break in the centre and hack attack. And now white misses h4, which traps the bishop. e4, you just move it, and the bishop's gone. It just wins the bishop. Instead, decides to take a pawn instead. Doesn't want the bishop. And now Dripdrop's 2 pawns down, and he's going to be dropping that with the chess checks. Bd2 was played. Qe2, which takes b4, de5, fe5, which is again not good, so queen e6 check. King h8. White should take with the rook, and white is almost winning this. He's 2 pawns up with a dominating rook and queen. Queen e5 was played instead, and this lets black back into the game. Bc5 was played, which is also a blunder. d4 should be played, he's trying to push the passed pawn down the board. Queen e5, bc5, bishop4, which is a blunder. Rook d1 should be played, and that just picks on the d pawn and practically wins it, so white goes 3 pawns up. Not good. Bishop 4, and now queen h4 is played. Bishop g3 and queen c4, which is a good move, but white is still 2 pawns up, so Dripdrop's rather ambitious draw offer to try and get in the chess checks was refused, because his opponent obviously wanted a bigger chess check. Send more money to SWAT congresses then. And you've got a few events like painting coming up soon, like you have still for like over a week, so chess checks are quite good. It's a good event this to win a chess check at. b3, weakening move, queen d3. And in fact, b3 is a very bad move, and now it's equal again, or more or less equal. Because b3 is just very weakening. In fact, after b3, black is all of a sudden threatening bishop d4, forking the queen and rook. Which is not very fucking good, is it? White should try to prevent stuff like this with rook d2, and white is still 2 pawns up, but black's got a bit more counterplay than he should have. But b3, queen d3, threatening bishop d4, which wins a rook actually, so this has to be stopped. So white blunders and plays a very passive move. In fact, white is completely blunders in this position. White needs to keep on the bishop, because play something like this, but black's got a very good counterplay now. So bishop d4, in fact that wants to exchange back, so yeah, so after queen b2, queen takes g3, and all of a sudden black's winning. Black is a piece up for 2 pawns, and has intense pressure on f2, and we can smell it on the chess check, and white actually tried to return the draw after, but now of course white is completely lost in this position, and Dripdrop could have concluded the game with rook f5. And what is white doing? It's a simple plan of doubling, or in fact, if white plays his own rook onto f1, rook g5 just mates the white king, so white's just going to drop his f pawn. If tries getting out of it, then just take it, and if rook f1, then just bishop back to d4. Beautiful move. The queen has to stay on the rook, that's the only move, and now bishop e5, and the mate threats force rook e5, that's obviously lost. Rook f1, queen f1, queen e5, and I'll call that a chess check. But queen d6 was playing instead, but still winning. Rook d3, bishop a3, queen d2, rook c1, rook e1, takes, rook c8, bishop c5 was a lot stronger, rook d1, but white is completely lost. Now the rook invades on the 7th rank. Now white throws in a check and puts his queen here, hoping to get some kind of perpetual or cheapo. Because Re queen f5 check threatened. Rook takes a2 was played, have another pawn. Why not? We live in a world of why not. And white played queen f5 check, queen g6 and took his pawn and offered a draw. which is very sneaky. And the fact that white is still a piece down for 2 pawns means that you would only accept a draw off if he was drunk in this position. And Drip Drop wasn't quite drunk yet, so he played out on the Queen C6, which forces white to get rid of the queens. Now the queens take a bath, and this endgame is actually quite difficult. White has got 2 pawns for the piece, a passed B pawn, and even if white wins the B pawn, he's got to try and break down this 3v2 on the king side, which he should be able to do with his extra piece. But I think in the long run, this is winnable, of course. Bc5, but you can imagine there'll be a few more blunders before the end from both sides. Bd6, G4, Bd2. Go for these moves quickly, because it's quite a long game, this. So actually, for some reason, white decided to sack his B pawn. Not sure why he did that. But the B pawn is quite relevant, actually. I think whether Drip Drop wins or draws is determined by the if he can break through these pawns on the king side with his bishop. Bishop H4. So Drip Drop's trying to get to the F2 points, but that's defended pretty easily. There's a bit of fooling around, and now Drip Drop plays H5, which I think probably has to play at some point, but it's very risky because he's only got 1 pawn left now as a result. And actually, it's really interesting. If you remember at the British, there was a lot of games actually where I had a rook and bishop down. I had the black a pawn for it, and they had 1 pawn left, and I had 2 pawns, and I lost both of them quite easily because the pawns were all separated. But this one's a lot more drawish because because white's pawns can slide. The H pawn can swap off for the G pawn if black isn't careful and pushes it too far or too fast. Whereas in them games, they never got a chance to like swap off. So this is very easily drawable, this potentially. But of course, with best play, it's still a win for black. But it's round 7 of a long tournament. It seems like years since Drip Drop blundered his card and all that panic. And of course, 7 rounds is a lot more than 5 rounds, so fatigue is taking a massive factor. Going to play a massive factor, I can imagine. Especially when you've been playing the British for about 52 weeks. Now we go 7 G6. So more fooling around. No progress being made, it seems. Now the bishop has to come all the way back to H6. The rook comes back to 7. Bishop B3, but that's easily dealt with. Bishop moves. No progress again. Although, so black needs to try pushing this pawn. And King G3, Rook B3, King G2. Again, it seems it's actually very hard to make progress in this position. I wonder if maybe if some strong players watching this game, can someone tell me if this is draw or win for black? I think it's might actually be drawn this now. I'm struggling to see a winning plan. But he played King H4, and of course that just blunders the bishop back, because after Rook F4 check, he just blunders the bishop. And now Drip Drop has to actually fight for a draw because it's quite easily drawn this, but 2 Rook and 2 Rook and 1. In fact, after King G3, Rook B3, Drip Drop offered the 4th draw of the game, and the 4th draw of the game was rejected. So both sides seem to like offering draws after the blunder, and of course the opponent rightly rejects because the opponent might not be in like the best frame of mind and playing for good big chess checks here. F3, King G5, H4 check. So white tries to win. Check. King comes up, and now the rook goes back correctly. Can't get behind the passed pawns because rook's still on behind passed pawns. Nice check from the rear end. So a bit of innuendo then. King F4, Rook H1, Drip Drop offers a draw, the 5th of the game. 5 draws offered now. King E5, King H5, and that really is strong because his pawn comes off. And now the players actually do agree to a draw, the 6th attempt, because it's going to be a draw by insufficient material. Not enough fabric left, maybe, or wool or cotton. Anyway, a bad pun then. Pun counts 1. But anyway, this brings an end to Drip Drop's Coventry series. The final scores on the door were 5.5 out of 7, which is pretty impressive for a 1-2-3 and under 1-3-5. The chess check was joint 2nd, which is I think about £70 or £75. I think it was £75. If they won this game, they'd have got £225 for joint 1st. With, interestingly enough, someone else I've won a chess check off, Richard Swazikin, who I once won I think £60 off or £50 off at Frodsham in 2011. I also beat him in round 1 at Manchester, where, as you know, I went on to win the event and won £120 chess check. So yeah, so a successful tournament. But if you could have won that, if you'd have found that Rook F5 move, Drip Drop would be a lot wealthier now. And it cost him £150 actually, but of course he was on course to get naught actually at one point, after being 2 pawns down. Of course, that's costing him 15 bottles of wine at Beefeater when he goes down to Paynton this weekend in a tough and complex event. So he gets to return to Torquay and all that. Whereas I'm playing myself, I'm playing at the Manchester Congress this weekend in the under 165 section. So I'll be doing games of that on Monday. But I hope you enjoyed Drip Drop's Coventry series, and I hope Drip Drop learned something in the quest to win the under 140 Grand Prix. And yeah, good event for Drip Drop. And I'll be back with a new series. I'll probably continue my British series tomorrow before I do my round 1 game at Manchester. For now, I hope you enjoyed this gaming series, and please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.